Hey YouTube, welcome back to Ravenwood Acres. It's Nomad 76. Today we're going to talk a little bit about land management, forest management, fire mitigation, wildfire mitigation, and what I call progressive thinning, which obviously coincides with all the aforementioned. So, here on Ravenwood Acres, we live on 5 acres, and clearly we have neighbors that like their horn because they know I'm filming right now. That's a joke, but anyhow, so in the Pacific Northwest, so this video doesn't solely, it's not just narrow focus to that, but people that either are living in the Pacific Northwest on acreage or are in the market for some may find this video more useful than others. So out of our 5 acres, about 3 of it is pretty much like that out there, right? Fairly forested, mixed forest between Douglas firs, grand firs, western red cedar, big leaf maple, some of the smaller trees, of course, the vine maples, alders, you name it. There's more. There's hazelnut right there. I got that all over the property. I've been trying to promote its growth because it is a nut producing tree, obviously. But this is my eastern side. So here in the Northwest, especially on the western side of the Cascades, when we get into the summer fire season, when we get red flag warnings, it's usually because we get winds out of the east, very dry winds out of the east. Backing up my property lines, just back in there, probably about 100 yards. That behind that is several hundred acres of private timber property, timberland, managed obviously for timber. There's access roads and people that go back there at times, even though there's kind of a makeshift gate. But I'm always concerned that in the summer someone might go back there and be careless with fire, like having a campfire or something. So I've been on my to-do list to thin this area out, and I've been working on it progressively, right? So how does nature thin, right? Well, nature thins by choking things out. So if you look down here, this very thick, these are the cedars, they tend to grow in these big thick, but what happens is as they grow, the small ones that get choked out by the lack of sunlight and whatnot end up dying off and then falling down and rotting away. Well, that's nature's way of thinning. No matter what type of tree it is, whether it's alders are kind of fast growing and they tend to just grow up and die and rot pretty much, unless you cut them down. But so here on this edge, just above my home, which my home's right down there, if you can see it through the trees, this was an old roadbed you can see through here, probably from 50 plus years ago when they logged some of the timber that used to be in here, the large old growth, which I still do have some in some pockets on the property, which is really cool. So I've used this road as my fire break. Basically came through, cleared it out, and like I said, I've been working on this kind of progressively over the last couple years. This year I'm going hard and heavy because I've had some pretty good concerns in the last few years with the fire season. So I figured it was time. And had some friends and family down in Oregon lose some property, to a wildfire. So kind of hit home, realized I should really get after this. What's another benefit of the fire break, right? The fire break will allow, and then obviously there's more trees to be removed, but it will allow me to get access, let's say with an ATV or tractor up here to help fight this fire, because this goes all the way through and there's a trail. I can drive my Jeep up and around all the way to right there. Now obviously these trees are in the way, but that I wouldn't really need to be able to drive a vehicle that size, but just a all-terrain vehicle or tractor or whatnot. But that continues on, and we've got this part roughed out, but that gives me my starting point, and I thin off to both sides, thinning throughout here. And some trees will stay for now, and then, you know, 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, whatever it may be, they'll end up getting removed due to the fact that now they're too close. You know, these trees right here, just example 1, 2, 3, you look at those, they look fine how they are right now, and they're doing a great job. They're helping hold soil, so on and so forth. But, you know, eventually they would end up growing into either a group of 3 trees that had all grown together at the base, or one, you know, they'd choke each other out, and one would survive, and or 2 becoming 1. So eventually those, of course, will need to be thinned. Of course, this area out over here, my property, it drops off really quick back in there. My property line is not too far, probably another 100 yards back in there. But then you look up here, which I did a little thinning earlier this spring, which you clearly can't tell. You can kind of see some of the dead needles from the western cedar there, but that's pretty much it. You know, of course, tools of the trade. If you're in the market for a piece of property, you know, and you've never done this type of work, obviously you're going to need a few things like chainsaws, and you know, the Farm Boss is a pretty good option. This is the 290. It's about the perfect size for a homestead. You know, it's got a 24-inch bar, which allows you to, you know, remove small trees, you know, firewood, do that type of work, the type of work I'm doing here today. And it's not too heavy. It's just still manageable size. And then, you know, you'll need your other general tools like machetes and clippers and gloves, lots of gloves. But don't be afraid to, you know, don't shy away from a property like this, because you get to shape what it's like versus maybe one where someone's just come in and just completely like bulldozed and, you know, made it all pasture, which is great. But this land, this spring, I'll have this thinned out enough that I'll be able to come in here and do some seeding to help promote grass growth and other things like clover in here, which helps habitat, helps wildlife, you know, just better, it improves the property overall. So the way I see something like this is more of a blank canvas versus what somebody else has done. So, which sometimes can be really hard to reverse if they've really screwed it up. So, well, if you guys have any questions, we can talk about this further. Maybe I'll do further videos here as the winter progresses. But this is Nomad 76. Put your questions, comments down below, and you guys all have a great day.